Hey everybody, hope you're doing well today. I want to talk to you a little more about Hurricane Ida. She's probably going to be one we don't have a hard time remembering. And I find it interesting that when you watch things like the Weather Channel, CNN, all these others, and they talk about the $11.5 billion that's been used on the levees and I would just remind you that chain is only as strong as its weakest link, and if the storm was to drop and come on shore, I think at 160 miles an hour. I mean, just judging from where I've seen that particular thing variable at, I would say just generally speaking, all bets were off. I don't see this thing doing anything but getting a little stronger, than going. And at this point, it doesn't matter what it does, it's going to make a royal mess. I used to live in Louisiana. And after these storms, we would be very well aware that it would be 10 days to 2 weeks before we would see power on a regular basis. Then it was in some cases 3 weeks. And for people who live south of me, it often was months. And there were many cases where even hotels and restaurants and gas stations and the like would be out in just the same situation. So I'm hearing from a lot of people that you're on your way. But I mean, like, if you don't get there till sometime late next week, it's probably not a bad idea. I mean, we have people working in Lake Charles that we've pulled back out. But I mean, from a practical perspective, there's no honor in showing up when they're in the midst of, just recovering people. And I think as an industry, we have to be aware of that. We've gotten, like in my office, just in the last 24 hours, I think we've gotten about 120 calls from our existing clients and new clients about writing estimates remote and having our field people out. And we've had to explain to people in the field that it was going to be a minute because we don't know what we don't know. And I think the message here to remember is, at this juncture, we don't know what we don't know. And so before you go blowing your resources and rolling into New Orleans in the middle of a raging storm, just cool your jets a little bit, because it might not be what you think it is just yet. I remember, for example, a bunch of people hightailed it into Harvey in Houston. And when those people hightailed it into Harvey at Houston, I know 3 different contractors who had all of their equipment flooded within 24 hours of showing up, because the waters were still coming up at the time, and they made a bad strategic choice because they were in the wrong spot, not knowing the lay of the land and how things could go. They didn't know that they were literally in the line of fire. I would also remind you of this when you're in Louisiana. Anybody from Louisiana will tell you this, okay? Like a normal, law-abiding citizen who would not steal from anybody will steal your generator. Let me repeat that. A law-abiding citizen will steal your generator. This has always been the case for storms. In fact, the only reason AT&T had to harden certain things about their generators on their particular equipment was people kept stealing them in the wake of storms. So just be aware of that. And also be aware that if things go bad in certain areas here, remember that the people we're going to be dealing with there have lost their house, their car, and their job all at once. And remember that whether or not you see it, there's a quiet desperation there that's growing, and it makes it a scary place to be early on. And I would just encourage all of you to just do something like think about your kids every time you have to deal with anybody in this mix. Think about how you talk to your wife, or how you talk to your kids, or how you talk to your husband, how you talk to somebody you love, and then frame what you're doing with somebody else just like that. Because the stress of this thing will wear on you, and if you don't get in the right frame of mind, it's gonna affect the way you do your work. The other thing I'd tell you is that for those of you that are deploying, one thing we get our guys to do, well, there's two things we get our guys to do. The first thing is we like them to find a place to eat that they can go often, or something to eat that they can do with routine. All we're doing is trying to get their dinner part of their routine so that they have something that's always that stable thing. And then we want them to have some downtime, and we want them to do something creative. I mean, that could be writing, that could be drawing, that could be playing a guitar, that could be balancing our head. I don't care. But the reason why we do it is if we don't do this mental health stuff, then people fall apart. I had a contractor that I worked with during Katrina, and one of his workers walked through town completely naked with shoes on that had little blinkers on them, and walked across the street from the police station and got a soda from the machine, and promptly got arrested. But I mean, that guy they weren't maintaining any kind of understanding that he was probably bubbling up. And it's not just that aberrant behavior, it's lots of other aberrant behavior. And I'm gonna cover this one other thing. I want you to listen to me, and this is mostly for the guys. If you are deployed, you call your bride when you wake up, when you hit the job site, when you have lunch, when you break for the day, when you have dinner, when you go to bed. You call and you call and you call and you call and you call. Because this work will pinch you off from those that you love. And you could end up ruining the best thing that ever happened to you while you're chasing money. And I have watched countless people do that in our industry. I do this when I'm on the road, because nobody's more important than my bride. Nobody. And I always need to remind myself that, and remind her of that. Guys, I'm gonna talk to you one more time about this. I was talking to a parish official that I know, and we were actually talking about the fact that they were looking at what regulations they were going to have to do to deal with the contractors and all the folks that were coming in who were unvaccinated. And one thing I can promise you, once again, not doing the politics of this, that's not my baby. That's some of yours, but it ain't mine. But understand, if you don't have a vaccine card that's legitimate and that can prove that you've been vaccinated, then there's a very good chance that your world is going to get smaller in Louisiana. The official I talked to was in one of the most populated counties that's being touched by this. And they can make your life extremely complicated. So please be aware of this and think about it before you go, because they are ate up with COVID. And they don't have any room anywhere for anybody to have more of it. So there you go. Guys, if you need some help with estimates, or you need somebody in the field, if you need some advice, if you need some support that we can give on any level, you call us at 800-272-1601. It's 800-272-1601. We'll get you a handle. Guys, we don't know what we don't know. But we know there's something here. And this is going to be painful for a lot of folks. And tonight, as it starts to be felt, I'm going to roll those memories of Katrina, and I'm going to roll those memories of that pain. And I'm going to hold my family close. Because but for the grace of God, that could have been me. Peace, y'all. I'm proud to call you the Claims Tribe.